In this lesson, I'm going to take you through what metrics to track and analyze once you have your ads up and running so you can scale to your dream business and lifestyle. So head over to your ads manager, and before we dive into the lesson, I did want to point out a few buttons. The first button is the date range button, which is in the top right hand corner. If you'd like to view certain periods to analyze, simply select that button. You can then go ahead and choose between predefined periods or select specific times within your calendar to analyze. The next is the columns button. Here you can choose exactly what type of view you have when analyzing your data. And the third is the breakdown button, which we went through in the module. And you can simply break down your results by time or demographic or geography. Now, to customize your view in terms of the metrics that you can see, the first thing you want to do is head to the columns button and select customize columns. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and add all the metrics that we spoke about in the overview lesson. They are also available in the metrics download below this video. There is a huge list of predefined metrics that we can choose from, and you can also customize metrics using calculations. Let's start from scratch and create a completely new view with all the metrics that would be most beneficial for you to track. So to do that, I'm going to delete all of these metrics that are already established in this view. And I'm going to add the list from the slide or the metrics download. I'm going to add them in the order that I provided. The first metric to add is amount spent. Make sure you select or tick each item as you add them. Follow along with me and create your very own view. The next one was impressions, then reach, then frequency, then CPM. Once we get into the actual ads manager and we've added all these, I'll go through how to measure each item as well, but you'll also find it in your metrics download below this video. I'm going to add results, which will show you, the amount of sales that you got, for example, from a particular campaign. If you created any custom events, you can also add those by coming down to the custom event section and selecting the ones that you created for your specific lead magnets using the thank you page. The next thing you want to add is cost per result. Then outbound clicks and CTR, which is click-through rate, outbound click-through rate, landing page views and cost per landing page views. So you can go landing page views, total, and then you want to tick the cost. The next one is add to cart and the cost for add to cart, so total and cost. After that, you want to add the checkout initiated. Now remember, if you are just measuring lead magnet downloads or webinar signups, you don't need all these e-commerce functionality. The next is hook rate, which is 3-second video plays per impression. So you can select that one. The one after that is hold rate. Then you've got average purchase conversion value, which we're going to create. So I'll just add the predefined ones as we go, and then we'll go ahead and make the customized ones. You've got return on ad spend, which is ROAS. The next one is average purchase conversion value, which is your average order value, and your ROAS. Now we will need to go in and make customized metrics. So the first one we're going to go in and make is your hold rate. So select create custom metric. Your hold rate is through plays divided by impressions. So you can type in through plays, or you can select it from the metric up here. So you want to go through plays, and then you want to divide that by the number of impressions. And then you want to name this metric. So you can call this hold rate. And essentially this metric is the number of people who have watched at least 15 seconds of the video and this will show you how engaging the rest of the video content actually is after the hook rate. Now you want to select this as a percentage, and then you can select if only you can see it or everyone with access to your ads manager. Then you simply click create metric. Then the next metric that you want to add is the purchase conversion value. So you want to create that custom metric as well. So you can search website purchase conversion value here. If you wanted to add Meta purchases as well, if you have a store on Meta, you could then just add Meta purchase conversion value, and you could plus both of those together if you have those available. Otherwise, just stick to website purchase conversion value. Then you would call this metric purchase conversion value. And you want this set as a dollar value or a currency. And then you want to create that metric. And then the final one that you want to create is your conversion rate. Your conversion rate is the amount of people that took a desired action out of the total amount of people, unique visitors, that visited that specific page. So to create that metric, select create custom metric. Then you want to take the desired action and divide it by the number of landing page views. So for example, if you had purchase as your desired outcome, then you would go purchases divided by the number of landing page views, because that is the actual amount of people that have seen that page. And then you would call this metric conversion rate. So this would be your overall website conversion rate, and it would give you your conversion rate for specific campaigns. If you wanted to do this for a landing page or a masterclass, you would either select leads if you've set your campaign up and your event tracking as a lead. Otherwise, just select your custom conversion that you made and then divide that again by landing page views. So if you called it swipe file as the conversion event, then you would just select that specific one. You could find it in the list, and then you would divide that by landing page views, and then you would just call it conversion rate dash swipe file, so you knew in your view what it actually was when you were reviewing. So create that metric. Now there you have it. You have all the metrics that you want to track. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure these are in the order that we added them. Sometimes they shuffle, which can be a little bit frustrating. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But basically, if they flipped out of order, you can just move them like so. So go ahead and check yours are in order. So I have gone ahead and mostly reshuffled mine, but you want to make sure that when you create the custom metrics, you actually select them as well. So I'm going to go in and select hold rate and conversion rate and conversion value. So then just go ahead and make sure they're still in order. Now it can be a little bit tricky when you first do it, but once it's set up, it's set up. One thing I did want to point out before we finish this section is that you might not need all of these particular adds to cart. I just want website adds to cart, so you can deselect any of those that aren't relevant, because otherwise they'll show in your actual view. If you don't have an app, it's not relevant, so you can remove those. Then, if you're creating this from scratch, you can save the preset and then name what you want to name your customized view. This one already has a name. It's called Top Metrics. So I'm going to go ahead and save my view, and then you'll see now that it is saved exactly as I predefined it. Now let's go through what to track with each metric. So in your ads manager, you'll see the on and off button, which will indicate whether your ad is active, the campaign name. Then you'll start to see the metrics that we set up. So the first one is amount spent. Now remember, you'll see the exact information in your downloads, your metrics guide download, if you prefer to read as opposed to following along with a video walkthrough. So with amount spent, this is so that you can see exactly how much that you spent on your campaign. Now you can actually track these metrics for the entire campaign, or you can break them down by ad set or at a particular individual ad level. Just keep that in mind. To only see a specific ad or ad set, you just select the tick button for that particular campaign. Then if you only wanted to see the results for that particular ad set and that ad, you could. You can also filter up the top here by different predefined categories. Otherwise, you can select a specific ad name if you only wanted to look at those specific names as well. And it would eventually filter those out for you as well. So as I mentioned, this is the amount spent on your campaign. The second column is the impressions. An impression is the number of times your ad is shown to your audience overall. Then you have your reach. Your reach is the amount of people in your audience that saw your ad at least once. It's the number of people overall that have seen your ad. So some people could have seen your ad multiple times. You want to keep an eye on your impressions and reach, particularly as you scale. And you want your reach number to be increasing with the amount of impressions. Otherwise, the same people will be seeing your ads over and over again, and that will spike your frequency of your ads. Now, your frequency is the number of times someone in your audience has seen your ad. For example, if your frequency is 5, on average, your audience has seen your ad 5 times. And frequency is calculated by dividing the number of impressions by reach. And generally, as your frequency increases, you'll notice your cost per result increases. And once both rise, it's really hard to get them back down. You really want to make sure that the ads that you're scaling aren't creeping above that frequency of 2 mark. And we go through that in more detail in your metrics guide. Now, the next column is CPM, and that is the average amount that you pay per 1,000 impressions generated. It's very difficult to benchmark this number because the figure comes down to what you're advertising and it comes down to the industry, etc. The best thing to do is actually benchmark this number against your own campaign, so see how one performs against another. If one campaign has a lot higher CPM, this means that your creative and whoever it's attracting or targeting isn't actually engaging enough for them. You may also not be reaching the right people because they aren't as engaged through the creative, so that's something to consider. Generally, anything over US 25 CPM or Australian $40 is considered high, but it is closely tied to the industry, so it's a hard metric to track. There's not really a lot that you can do with this metric besides helping you identify a problem. And that's because this number is impacted by so many different factors. A couple of things that you can do to drop the CPM is by implementing broader targeting or higher quality diverse creative that may be less competitive in the auctions. The next column is your results column, which is generally going to be the amount of leads or sales you're getting from your campaigns. The result will depend on what you've optimized for, meaning if you picked leads for campaign objective, you're going to see leads in that column, or sales if you selected sales. If you're getting a lot of clicks but no leads or sales, consider why those you're advertising to aren't converting. Is it what you're selling? Is it the sales or website page that you're sending them to? The messaging or the overall email follow-up sequence? On average, 2 out of every 100 people that visit your website book or buy. If you aren't hitting this number, there is likely a breakdown on the page you're sending them to. You can also look at the registration, booking, or checkout processes and make sure that the funnel is converting at 2% and where there's a bottleneck. The next column is your cost per result, and that is the average dollar amount it costs you to acquire a lead, booking, or sale. You want to constantly be trying to bring this number down as long as the quality of people that you are bringing in is there. There is no point getting the cost lower just to get a huge volume of people into your sales funnel if those people aren't going to go on to convert. This number can massively impact your profitability, so keep an eye on it. Keep creating diversity with your ads so that you can reach new people in your funnel. And you also want to make sure that your landing pages are optimized, because if people are converting more on those pages, it's going to also bring those costs down. Next column is outbound clicks, the number of people that click off their platforms through to your website or landing page, not just click your ad. Next metric you want to track is outbound click-through rate. An outbound click-through rate is the outbound clicks as a percentage, and you really want that to sit above 1%. If you're getting clicks and a click-through rate above 1%, it shows that your creative is engaging to your target audience, and the higher that goes, the more engaging it is. If the number sits below that 1% mark, you really want to think about the creative and the messaging and the angles and the formats that you're using, and how you can adjust that to engage your audience better. You also want to track landing page views, which tracks the amount of people that made it to your website. You often lose people from when they click through to when they actually hit your website. If your website is loading too slow, people often won't wait and they'll bounce out. And it can also be other factors like things that are on your website, like the hero section or the first image that they see or the first bit of copy and the messaging. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the number of outbound clicks your ads got and then what percentage made it through to your landing pages. You want at least 80% of outbound clicks to become landing page views. So of all your outbound clicks, how many made it through to landing page views? If it's over 80%, then you don't really have a bottleneck. Then you should be okay. To backtrack a bit, you can use the outbound clicks or landing page views when it comes to tracking your traffic from module 2. So when you want to get a certain amount of clicks every day, you can use the landing page views to see how many people actually clicked through to your website and make sure you're reaching those traffic goals for your particular campaign goals so that you can hit your sales and revenue goals. The next metric is cost per landing page view. It's how much it costs you to get someone to click through to your website or landing page. Always aim to be decreasing this number. Now let's slide along. We are now moving into add to cart. That's how many people added your product to their cart. Aim for 10% of people who viewed your content to add to cart. This will decrease as the price of your offer increases. Then you've got the cost per add to cart, and that's how much it costs for you to get someone to add to the cart. You'll obviously want to decrease this number over time too. Then you have checkout initiated. That's how many people initiated a checkout on website. On average, 30% of people who added to cart initiated checkout. 50% of people who initiated checkout should then go on to book or purchase with you. You can actually remove the second column where it's got website checkouts initiated and versus checkouts initiated, because it's just going to mirror the same information. Same with website adds to cart or add to cart. You could come into the metrics and just untick the website part of the metric. How that would look, you could come down and just untick these particular boxes if you didn't want it to show with all that extra information and look confusing. So now it will just show the overall totals. So for your cost per checkout initiated, you want to look at how much it costs to get a checkout initiated, and then you obviously want to decrease that number over time. Now the next metric is your hook rate. So this is for videos, and it's the number of people that watched at least 3 seconds of your video, and it tells us how engaging the first 3 seconds of your video is. Adjust your hooks in your content in the video to increase this number. Ideally, you want this number to sit around 30%. And in your training and in your metrics guide, you'll see some ways to actually increase that hook number. The next figure is your hold rate, and your rate is the number of people who watched at least 15 seconds of the video, and this shows you how engaging the rest of the video or content is. You want to aim for at least a 10% hold rate. Anything above that is pretty good. The next figure is your average purchase conversion value, which is how much on average people spend with your business from ads. You want to aim to increase this number and look for ways to upsell or cross-sell to make your ads more profitable. The higher your average order value, the lower your cost per result and the higher your return on ad spend is going to be. The next column is ROAS, and that is your return on ad spend. This is how many dollars you make in return from purchases or bookings for every dollar spent on advertising. Meta will say the average is 3 here, but we try and aim for a 8 to 10 plus. This can be industry driven, but also subjective. For example, if your target cost per result is 30% of the total sales or booking price, a ROAS of 2% would still be profitable. So basically this number is calculated in Meta by dividing the total revenue from ads by your amount spent per campaign. So try and increase this number as much as you can, but you're going to need to increase the average order value to be able to increase that number as well and drop your costs. The next column is your conversion value. That's how much money you've made from that particular campaign or ads. This will work when you have your website set up for e-commerce. So whatever you set up in module 1, ad ready setup. It's more challenging if you're using custom conversions, even if you add a value when you create the custom conversion, because it doesn't always track properly. And the final column is your conversion rate. So what percentage of people that hit your website or your landing page that went on to make a purchase? On average, this sits around 2%, but can be lower for colder audiences and higher for low ticket items. So that is your metrics. Now, the final area is the breakdown. You can break your ads down by so many different things if you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty. So you can break your campaigns down by time or demographics or geography or delivery in terms of the time of day and platforms. You can also break it down by the action as well. So that is it for this lesson.